Dear President Donald Trump and Mr. Elon Musk, thank you so very much for turning our government financials inside out. Wow, what a powerful illustration of the butterfly effect, of how the quiet beatings of a butterfly wing can turn into a raging tornado. My name is Cindy Branham. I turned 50 years old this year. In my lifetime, I have not seen this amount of change in our government system. Truly, I see real change coming and how you both will redirect this great nation back to whom our founding fathers built us to be. I have always been proud of my American heritage and not opposed to questioning authority in my life. Freedom is the epitome of that right, to question and learn the whys and reasons we are to do the things we do. Throughout my life, I have tried to be my own butterfly in many aspects, leading the way to create change. One of those are horses. They are the wind behind my passion in life to do just that. I have built a lifetime career in the equine industry. I have learned that horses can touch people's lives in so many ways. For example, our great nation was built on the backs of horses. So, you may be asking yourselves, what does this have to do with the federal government and ultimately DOGE? Well, let's talk about the wild horses and burros being managed by the Bureau of Land Management and the Forest Service. I have been asking myself, when you, Mr. Musk, first see the amount of federal money being spent on horses, what you will be thinking. I can only imagine the face you will make when you see those numbers. According to my research, in 2022, the appropriated funds for the Wild Horse and Burro Management Program was $137.1 million. I can guarantee that number has risen in the past 3 years. Now, I am not a numbers girl. However, I am an expert in my field. Since 2007, I have specialized in the training, showing, facilitating adoptions, and using BLM wild horses in equine-assisted mental health therapy. The BLM and the Wild Horse and Burro program came into my life in 2007. I was building my career and becoming a well-known horse trainer and clinician in Topeka, Kansas, and surrounding states. I was introduced to a government-funded program, first of its kind, to enter a competition in which we would have 100 days to start and train an untouched BLM wild horse. Those horses were then put up for adoption to the public at the end of the competition. This was the first wing beat in my life that brought me here today and to write you both this letter. I could go into all the history I have with wild horses, from the first time I looked into the jet black eyes of that first wild horse in 2007, or the way he then redirected my career, or all of the people's lives who have benefited from each and every wild horse I have had the privilege to work with. But the bottom line is, how do we move forward in the BLM Wild Horse and Burro Management Program and cut the price tag it costs to manage all of these horses? And this is where the controversy begins. In my career and love for wild horses, I have been caught in the middle of this political storm. This storm came to a head a few years before I was born in 1971. The Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act of 1971 provides for management and protection of wild horses and burros by the Bureau of Land Management and Forest Service. Federal management of wild horses and burros has generated controversy, proposals for change, and lawsuits for years. In 1971, an activist for the wild horses, a lady named Wild Horse Annie, campaigned to have the wild horses protected, and she got it done. Now it was the federal government's job to protect wild horses. Protect is a word that can be interpreted in many ways. To the left, it can mean feed, water, provide shelter, and leave them alone to be wild. Really, an oxymoron, because the minute we started caring for them, we disrupted the wild and survival of the fittest was gone. To the right, we now were infringing on the rights of all the American ranchers who had government leases for their cattle on the same land the wild horses are to be protected on. Now we have range wars between the left and right. I know you both understand the political BS and how finding common ground and compromise can seem impossible. Since 1971, there have been federal bureaucrats trying to appease both sides and manage wild horses. The worst part is, it is people who have absolutely no understanding of livestock, let alone horses. This has led to the mismanagement of the horses and American tax dollars. First, First, to help you understand these wild horses, you must know that they are not indigenous to the USA. We call them Mustangs because Mustang means feral. Their ancestors are immigrants just like ours are. They came over with the original explorers of America. Over time, they got away from their owners, maybe stolen by Native Americans or let go from the pioneers. They are survivors who learned to be on their own in the wild. Some of those same horses helped build our great nation, fought wars alongside our soldiers, and still to this day are shaping American lives. I have asked myself for years, how can I help? It has been hard to be caught in the middle. I am a true advocate for the BLM wild horses. They are my heart. And I also understand the high cost to Americans they are having on the economy. I support the BLM and their efforts to manage these horses, even though their hands have been tied by politics. My part so far has been to educate horsemen and the public on the adoptability, versatility, and value of the American wild horse and save one wild horse at a time. But now, that seems like it isn't enough. I have a higher purpose to not only redirect the future of this incredible part of American history, the wild horses, but to also affect change in our great nation's financial stability. I want to help you both figure this out. Achieving and maintaining the number of wild horses and burros at the national AML has challenged BLM for decades. BLM has set the upper limit for the AML for all wild horse and burro herds on its lands at 26,785 animals. As of March 2022, there were an estimated 82,384 animals on BLM lands, more than triple the current AML and more than double the 40,605 on-range estimate from 2013. A female horse can have one baby a year. This simple math is the basis for why we have a problem. The herds can double every year, and they pretty much have. Adoption of these horses to the public is the plan, but the adoption program is flawed, mainly because we are offering wild, scared, 1,000-pound animals for an adoption fee of $125. Many people come to adopt without the proper expertise or assistance to train them. These horses react naturally to us as we are predators, so they will fight for their lives if they think they need to. Many horses that are adopted wild are returned. Programs such as the one I was a part of in 2007 did make some impact in getting more horses adopted, but the math didn't add up. We adopted at auction that first jet black wild horse that changed my life in 2007 for $8,500. That was after I invested 3 months of my life in training and providing for him. Sounds great until you see that the BLM still only received the adoption fee of $125 from that sale. And that was after they helped produce the event and hold the adoption auction. Again, I am not a numbers girl, but after doing this competition for several years, I came to the realization that the trainers, the horses, and the BLM were taking a big hit, especially financially, while the not-for-profit producers of the event were possibly lining their pockets. Other federally funded programs have come about to try to get more trained wild horses adopted, including some failed ones and some very successful ones. Successful ones such as the wild horse and training programs in men's correctional facilities across the nation. Federally housed inmates have the earned opportunity to work with and care for federally housed wild horses. These programs have not only produced more adopt-ready trained horses, but have also given these men purpose and a learned trade. I have had the honor to work with inmates at the Kansas Correctional Facility in Hutchinson, Kansas. Through this experience, I have been able to see the amazing work these men do and the impact these horses have had in their lives. In the past, this program produced trained horses for the Border Patrol. This is an example of the synergy of federal institutions working together to create a way for federal funds to be used equitably and efficiently. One of my passions is to be able to offer wild horse inmate training programs to as many correctional facilities as possible. I was so disappointed to find out that there are no wild horse training programs for any women's or juvenile correctional facilities in the USA. The impact these programs could have in the rehabilitation process is endless. I have a vision and a plan to make this happen. Mr. President, you have given me the confidence to write this letter. You have proven to me that you look beyond the persona that only the elite, wealthy, politically backed people are worthy of working for the federal government to facilitate change. I write you today with the confidence that I do have the ability, experience, passion, and vision to help create a plan to not only reduce the cost of the management of America's wild horses, but to also create a plan to utilize the correctional facility's vast population of inmates as potential trainers of these horses. Well-trained horses are more adoptable and have the most likely outcome to stay adopted and not be returned to federal government's care. The trained horses have the potential to have a much better quality of life. Mr. Musk, financially speaking, when it comes to the numbers, I can come alongside your financial team by evaluating the current management of the approximate 83,000 wild horses in long-term holding facilities. Then create a plan to reduce the numbers of horses humanely and economically. I believe the quality of life of these horses should be the number one priority in balance with the economic burden. That being said, if we do not change how we are also managing the ones on the ranges, this economic burden will continue to double every year. As an example, the BLM has spent so much money on birth control of female horses. A vaccine is given to them annually to help prevent pregnancy. This is not a cost-effective way to reduce the herd's population, and the numbers reflect this. The left has tied the hands politically of the BLM. In my opinion, male horses could be rounded up one time, castrated, and then released to live out their days in the wild or selected for the adoption process. The far left would have you believe this is inhumane, so it isn't done for those left in the wild. Many studies have been conducted by the federal government to discover the best approach to herd management and birth control. The problem I see is that sometimes reinventing the wheel is not necessary if the previous method is the most efficient. Livestock husbandry has been safely castrating male animals for centuries. These horses truly are a treasure of the American people. We owe it to them to ensure the breed continues to thrive, and we owe it to ourselves to better manage the financial burden we have brought on ourselves. Imagine with me building wild horse training centers at correctional facilities across the nation. We utilize all the leftover and abandoned materials from the road and building maintenance departments in each state. Most correctional facilities have work programs where the inmates are learning all aspects of construction as part of their rehabilitation. We use their labor to build the facilities. That is exactly how the facility was built at the Wild Horse Training Program in Hutchinson, Kansas. Many of the fences have previously replaced guardrails from the highway systems. Recycled materials repurposed into a great working facility. They even have enough ground that they grew and harvested their own hay for the horses. Another aspect to teach inmates, farming. Imagine now that the facilities are built and we bring in the horses who have gone through the process of selection to be the best suited for adoption. We have a proven, humane training process that is streamlined and built to produce trained horses. Experienced trainers teach the inmates as they train the horses. A synergy of federal institutions working together to create a way for federal funds to be used equitably and efficiently. More horses are being adopted in a timely manner, and inmates not only learning a trade, but life principles to help ensure a better transition back into society. It's a win-win. I have a vision of how to overhaul the BLM wild horse and burro management program. I have the passion and the drive to create and implement a plan to create change. Let me take the reins and soar on the beating of my wings. I may just be a butterfly now, but give me this opportunity and I will become the tornado the horses, inmates, and American people need. Sincerely, Cindy Branham, equine specialist.
Horses, people. That connection. Can you help? Like, follow, share, become my friend. Help me on this journey.